Supply and Chain Podcasts. We are your hosts, Leo and Kristine.
We are so happy to welcome Joseph Thia to our episode today. Joseph is Growth Stage Investment Manager at Berda Principal Investment VC. He's a growth marketer and startup advisor specializing in Southeast Asia expansion. He's also author of Common Sense you can find on josephthia.subtract.com. Please welcome Joseph. We are very excited to welcome Joseph on our episode today. Hi, Joseph.
Hi, pleased to be here with everyone.
So we'll just jump into the first question. You, from the VC perspective, do you believe it's possible to achieve 100% transparency across fashion supply chain?
Okay, as much as because we're investors in Zilingo, as much as I'd like to say that it's possible to achieve 100% transparency, but in the reality is there is no way there is going to be 100% transparency in anything. Not even be the fashion supply chain, financial reporting, government policies. There's never going to be 100% transparency. I think what we can gun for is probably like 60-70% transparency. Is doing that Zilingo. They're trying to digitalize the whole supply chain and provide visibility. So visibility is not equal to transparency because it's close, but there's overlap, but it's not the same. So they're starting out by providing visibility into what's happening upstream in the supply chain, especially in the factories, in real time, what are the defects that are happening, why they're happening. So that's visibility, right? So in my mind, when I think about transparency and what the retailers or the brands want, they want to stamp out things like child labor. They want to stamp out things like unconducive living conditions for the factory workers or unhygienic working environments, unsafe working environments. And these are things that we won't even get visibility on unless we install CCTVs in every factory.
Yeah.
Right. And that borders on surveillance. So it's a tricky question, right? So 100% transparency, is that surveillance?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be very hard to get to 100% transparency, but we can get to a comfortable level and we reach that with like trust.
But
that's my view.
Perspective, if you look from Zilingo's perspective, they acquired Nsinga, which is basically digitalizing the factory, not necessarily looking in a slave labor and so forth. Yeah. Of course, it's a huge. But here, just looking from the operational perspective, how can we improve our supply chain efficiency? If you have more transparency, as you mentioned, visibility, you would cut costs and efficiency would be higher. So do you believe with the right amount of cash injection, Zilingo would be able to get closer to 90% or maybe somewhere in future 100%?
Visibility or transparency? Again, I want to make a distinction. It's
visibility. Let's go for the visibility.
I think 90% visibility, or maybe 80+% is possible. They're starting with the foot in the door by going to the factory saying, by plugging my software into your factory operations, I can make you 20-30% more efficient, less defects, basically less wastage. You get more margin, right? So you get more margin. You get to take more money home as a factory owner. That's music to their ears. And that's the only way they're going to let you in the door. If not, they're like, why are you coming in and plugging sensors everywhere in my factory? What are you trying to do, right? I mean, some of these factory owners are kind of mom and pop. So you need a very strong and clear and simple value proposition to get into them, right? And once you've shown that you've delivered that, you build enough trust, and that's where you can start bolting on more solutions. Do you want computer vision in your CCTV? Do you want digital scheduling? Then you start adding more stuff, and then that's how you get more and more visibility, right? But first, you need to get a foot in the door through something that is very compelling and very simple to understand. I think that is how I think that's Zilingo's strategy today. Obviously, the pandemic has put has thrown a spanner into the works, and they had to put that on hold for now in terms of their expansion. So, but we're still very excited to see that they're still holding on to their vision and continue to execute on that.
Just a quick question for you, Joseph, as investor, is it actually important to reach at 80, 90, perhaps 100% of visibility, or that would not be one of your main kind of requests for the future?
So, I mean, as an investor, I mean, to be very honest, I mean, we are investing for financial return. So what gives us the financial return is basically P&L and cash flows, right? So as long as they are able to make money by supplying, I mean, so for now they're supplying the SaaS for free to the factory owners, and then they make money through working capital financing, right? So that the factory owners can grow and expand, because one of the bottlenecks to them expanding their business has always been working capital, because the brands take 90 days to pay them, or I think the quickest is 60 days. So I think that's and Zilingo is giving them receivables factoring and charging them a small fee on that. And that's how kind of Zilingo is making money today from providing the SaaS for free. Over time, I think as the factory owners get more aware, more educated about technology, that's where I think and then they may be able to charge a SaaS fee. But in terms of when that will happen, I just don't know when is the horizon. It's just too. I don't have a crystal ball. So COVID might accelerate some of these changes. These changes, but we just don't know. And fashion is not in a great spot right now. Everybody's just thinking about survival, right?
Yeah.
And not really thinking about growth yet. So when we go back to growth mode, I think that's where we can start to see whether Zilingo has a tailwinds to add more of these features, so they can build more visibility, you know. So it's really adding. I think CCTV computer vision is the key thing. How are you going to convince those guys to give you direct access to their CCTV feed? Most of them don't even have CCTVs. Like they just have a physical guy standing at the door as a security guard. So you know, this on the ground there are a lot of issues to even before the tech comes in. That's what I'm saying. So it's a long journey. So I just don't know how long it will take. But we will get there as long as we keep at it.
What do you think is your favorite myth about the fashion supply chain?
Fast fashion is a paradox in itself, because fashion is not fast. So I don't know. I like the caveat that I'm not a fashion expert. Kristine here probably knows more about the fashion space than I do, because she's been in Li Feng for a number of years. But at least, yeah, and Leo. So I mean, but fast fashion to me was, I mean, is it really fast? I mean, because they're just repeating, they're just mix and matching different styles from different years. They're not exactly creating anything new. What is fast though is the marketing.
Okay.
It's not the fashion. they're rebranding. They're sending new messages. They're hijacking trends in media to create new urges and new motivations to buy new pieces. But the pieces may not be new, because when I compare, I mean, especially for men, we have this problem, right? How different do our shirts look from year to year? They're correct. The same. They're always the same. So for ladies,
always wearing the white shirt and the black pants. That's it.
Yeah, it's not changed, right? Since the 1800s, God knows. Yeah. So it's just a different card, slight nuances here and there. The buttons, the pockets are gone. So is it really fast? I mean, for men, I would surely say no. For ladies, there are a lot of options. It's all around I think it's more around mix and matching, and that is actually the marketing department and not really the supply chain side. So you know what I mean. So I could be wrong as well. Love to hear your thoughts as well. Yeah.
Okay. Because also like the name also comes from the availability of the SKU itself, which again, as you say, the SKU just may be a variation of another SKU or just a new color from an existing style. So it's just churning out, new combination styles and having them as soon as possible, jumping on trends. So yeah, they try to call it fast, but I mean, you still mostly the development process, especially the production process, is the same. It's just how to postpone the thing that makes the style special and having the most generic things ready, like the same fabric for everyone. Like you have a bunch of fabric already waiting in the factory. But
so one season, one production run for a season is about 2 months or 3 months.
Because even the concept of season is changed, right? Like in the traditional model, you're working for like a collection for a season versus like they're working on drops, so they can have styles ready for this month, next style ready for next month, and they move on. But at the core, back to what you say, like the fact of starting a development from scratch, it's impossible to do that. At least not having a lot of designers just to create that amount of styles. It's just about knowing how to customize the styles you already have enough to create something, an experience for the customer.
Kind of adding to this, I mean, Inditex is supposed to be the mother of fast fashion, pushing out new style per day. I mean, that's, I guess, the closest we can get to the fast fashion. As you, Joseph, rightly mentioned, it's of course the small details, like 5 points of differentiation from existing style, just legally to be allowed to push it out. But I think you'll have a very good point for our next question. What do you see as most innovative recent fashion supply chain initiative, whether it's initiative, startup, or project, what you have seen? Because you guys are receiving so many projects every single day.
So there has been quite a lot going on in the fashion space recently. So supply chain digitalization is one. Computer vision in terms of virtual trying on of fashion pieces, and also like computer vision to sort items and to kind of like digitalize the SKU data so that you can recommend what the user should look at or should consider, and they buy online. So that has been happening in recent years. I like to talk about what I hope to see but I have not seen. Right. So I think there is a missing feedback loop in the fashion supply chain. So the feedback loop meaning you know what consumers are buying by your sales data, but you do not know what consumers are wearing. Buying a piece doesn't mean I wear it. I may have worn it once or twice, and then it gets tossed in my closet, and I forget about it. So I think to move towards sustainable fashion, what's missing is the feedback loop. What are you producing that's getting worn, that's getting utilized? So there's so much waste in the fashion world today because of this lack of feedback loop. We're producing things at higher and higher volumes without knowing whether they get worn, just to fuel consumerism. But I mean, at least to me, that is a problem. I mean, I wear the same polo T-shirts every day. I don't care. So, but there's a group of people that trying to stay up to date. Yeah, sorry, I cut you there, Leo.
No, but I think it's mostly a change on the business model, right? As we were discussing about like fast fashion and all these, like trying to push for the lowest cost. But the idea is to get you to buy more often and get you to buy more things. So really, in that business model, I don't care if you wear it or not. I care if you keep buying more, because I just want to I keep churning out styles, and I want you to keep coming back for more. Even if you already have like 3 variations of the same style, but you saw a new one and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna get another one of the
because it's only $20. Yeah, so
because it's so cheap. I'm just gonna wear it, and I'm sure I'll find some time to use it. So, what do you think needs to happen for that change in the business model to happen? Because clearly, I don't look at that data because I don't care, right?
It has already happened. COVID has helped us. COVID has sent a strong message to the brands that you can't just keep producing. And now they're stuck with these large production runs that they aren't going to sell. And they had to realize they need to change the business model. They can no longer gun for a high production volume based business. They need to go for a margin based business today. And to be able to justify higher margins, basically selling less pieces at higher prices. There needs to be quality. There needs to be more thought put into the design process. You need to produce things that people really want to wear and are able to wear for long periods of time. right? Evergreen fashion, you just mix and it's mix and matching, right?
Yeah.
And you teach people how to mix and match pieces they already have.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a subscription program, a wardrobe advisory program that customers subscribe to, and it becomes part of your customer loyalty program, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes a virtuous loop, and you get a feedback loop. You know what people are wearing and what people don't like, and you get feedback directly from customers, and you then feed it into your design and make things people want.
Just going back to your initial point about how can we track point where consumers, how many times they are using it, what happens. Reflown, they have this new initiative for a year or two where they're looking into using the existing platforms of the brands when the person kind of is ready to let go of the initial piece what they bought, they can go back on that platform and resell it. So they would get some bonus to be able to purchase later stuff from the same brand, and the brand can put this one in secondary markets in secondhand pre-loved fashion. That would be a good circular business model, what you're thinking initially.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point there, Kristine. So we have been looking at the circular economy, like circular economy business models. So we're actually invested in one. It's called Vinted. It's in Europe and not in this part of the world though. But circular economies only start to have traction when a economy reaches a certain GDP per capita threshold. When they start focusing on buying new things rather than what I have. So I think the economy in Southeast Asia, maybe like broader emerging Asia today, is still more focused on acquiring new stuff. They have not really gotten to the level of maturity in society where they started thinking about this what I need versus what I have, and I just bridge the gap. I do not, need to always buy new stuff. So I think it really takes a certain economy level before the society gets there, and then circular economy can happen, and then the brands can use the circular economy as a feedback. It's kind of a pseudo feedback loop, right? And build a loyalty program on top of it.
Moving on to the next question, what has been your biggest, what do you call it, failure or challenge, and what were your main learnings from it?
So just broader, like life. So my biggest failure in life was trying to live up to the perceptions and expectations of others.
Okay.
So I think in my younger days, when you're fresh out of school, you peer pressure is quite strong. So you feel this pressure to keep up in terms of your earning power, your kind of status, what you wear, what you have. Just after a few years, I came to the realization after racking up quite a bit of credit card debt that life is, it's wrong, right? It shouldn't be that way. And I just unrooted myself, and I went to Jakarta I worked outside Singapore, in Jakarta, and Vietnam, and Philippines for 2 years. And that's when I recalibrated myself, and I learned what's really important. I think what's really important is you develop yourself as a person to be able to value add to society, and you don't really care what other people say about you. You just have to you just have to develop this high level of self-awareness of what you're good at and what you're not so good at. How do you use your strengths to help other people? So what it means by adding value, you help other people, and how do you continuously breach your weaknesses, or find other people that can complement your weaknesses into your social circle, and that's how you compound your value add, and then and over time you get payoffs as you continue value adding back to society. Your universe will pay you back in terms of higher salary or better job. So that will come naturally, but it takes time.
And I agree with you. I think that especially in places that are so competitive and small by default, like Manhattan, Singapore, Hong Kong, you're kind of surrounded by people that are like in such a hustle culture that you end up really losing perspective of the world. And I think it's very valuable to say, like maybe disconnect a little bit, go somewhere else, put things in perspective, maybe the things that are important in places like Singapore, Manhattan, and New York, uh, no, Manhattan and Hong Kong are just meaningless anywhere else, right? Like you are trying to impress just someone, and then you realize, okay, how much am I sacrificing to get someone's approval or to be part of a group? You're right. Like especially when you're younger, you're very impressionable. Right? Like you're when you're new in university, when you're new in the workforce, and you're like just overwhelmed by the whole thing, and you don't know really what to do with your money, or like what can you do with money. It can lead you to a lot of bad decisions. So yeah, definitely this is as you say, that this is a high level thing. Like it applies to every industry, to I guess every person out there.
Yeah, it's loosely related to our topic on fashion. Again, yeah. So which is why I wear the similar things every day. Anyway. Yeah.
But that's also your personal branding. You're basically going for a statement piece, not ever changing. That's your personal brand as well.
I look boring. It's fine, but I'm always here to help. So I think that's how I want
you want to look consistent.
Brand myself. Yeah, consistent, right? Consistency, right? You can always hear. I mean, I always reply you if you reach out. So, and I don't really care about my appearances. I just don't want to look too shabby. That's it.
Fair enough.
What do you suggest to the fellow entrepreneurs from your own experience, as well as from many people you have interviewed for potential investments? What are the failures in those stories, and what are the main learnings? Maybe just some kind of like more comprehensive thought there.
So for entrepreneurs out there, I'd like to remind them again that VCs are not always your friends. I mean, I'm a VC, so that's kind of ironic for me to say it, but sometimes they forget, because VCs can be very friendly, because we are in a relationship building business.
Yeah.
And I would like to emphasize business. Yeah. So when times go bad, like now, you kind of always expect your investors to give you a get out of jail card without any strings attached.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no free lunch in the world, so everybody's out here trying to make a return. We have our own stakeholders to answer to. We have to show that we are delivering great results. So obviously, outside of work, we are your friends. But when it comes to work, we have fiduciary duties, and sometimes we just have to cut losses, right? I mean, fortunately for us, we have not needed to do that. Our portfolio is very small, so it's easy to manage. But
it's part of doing business.
Yeah, it's part of doing business. So when your investors come back, I mean, some of them may have to face the half truth of like their investors coming back to say, we can't give you the bridge round. I'm sorry. I mean, we've gone through the case a few times, but there's no way we think we can push through this. We can pull this off, or we can push through this to the IC. And instead of blaming external factors, I'm blaming COVID, blaming my investors for not giving me funding, blaming my employees for resigning from the company. It's all their fault. Why don't you look inwards? What have you done that what could you have done better that could have avoided this? Take lessons from every step back, right? And try to look inwards, increase the level of self-awareness again, and then even if you fail this time, you do much better next time. But without the level of self-awareness, that you will never improve. So I unfortunately again I've seen this a lot in Singaporeans, where the level of self-awareness is sometimes not that high compared to more hungry people from outside Singapore. They might be from less fortunate backgrounds, but they hustle a lot more. They learn faster. They have high levels of self-awareness, and they're just more rooted to the ground, right? So again, it's a message to my fellow countrymen that you're not special, right? So everybody, don't think you're special. So try to, and once you're able to understand that you're not special, then you start to learn more about yourself, and your strengths and weaknesses, and what you need to do to always get to the next level. So, I mean, again, a bit philosophical, but yeah. So I think that's my message to entrepreneurs, founders, and basically people that are also early in their work in their careers.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's very good thing for me to think about it as well now.
Yeah. I mean, we all have setbacks. I've been rejected from countless jobs as well. So nothing new here. Yeah.
How do you continue to learn and stay on top of the things? Because you mentioned about this continuous learning. So I would love to know what your task.
So again, it goes back to self-awareness. You need to really understand yourself, increase your understanding of yourself over time. And I find that the best way to do that is to start by learning what you don't like. So when you know what you don't like, you start to narrow down the things, and then you start to come to the things that you maybe like, and then you really work on those things that you like, those areas, those domains that you're interested in, and devour as much information as you can over those domains, and then you start, and from those domains you can start to extend your knowledge to peripheral knowledge spaces through first principles, right? So it's more of a thought process, and over time your knowledge bank will compound. It's kind of like investing your savings, and there's interest. So the more you learn, the more it compounds, because if you only have one data point, there's only so much you can do with it. You have two, you can permutate, but again, not that much. But what happens if you have 3 or 4? The permutation starts to exponentially increase. So I think being multidisciplinary is very important today. And with so much information out there, it's very hard to filter what you need to consume and what to ignore. So again, focus on what you're naturally drawn to.
Yeah, or even just if it's something that you're not natural, at least get certain awareness of it. For example, you get a good example. Everybody's talking about everything is apps, you need to start learning coding. Yes, I think it's good to have certain awareness of how these things happen. But if you're just not gifted, or you're not good at it, you're not enjoying it, you could use that energy, you could use that time, motivation into something that you are really good at, and be good at it, and have an awareness. Again, everything. How are they structured? Like what do they need? How do I put my idea, my concept into an app? But I don't have to do it at the end of the day, because again, everybody's learning how to code, so any of them can do it, right?
Yes, you're exactly right there, Leo. So I was a nosy Parker. I like to poke around in people's notes. That we have this Confluence database where people document all their projects, and I go in to read what the tech team documents over the weekend as a pastime, just so that I gain awareness, like what you said, Leo, of what is happening in tech. Although I may not understand 60% of the things I'm reading, but I get an awareness.
How you are selecting what you want to learn. Okay, one thing is natural. Is there anything you would like to suggest to our listeners?
My advice to the listeners out there would be the first thing you need to master, or you need to hone, is to learn how to learn. Kind of odd, right? But to learn how to learn, you need frameworks, and you need like thought systems, right? So first principles is one of them. You have systems-based thinking. There are a few books out there on systems-based thinking. Those are important to read, to understand, and to practice daily until it becomes muscle memory. And also highly recommend this book by Rolf Dobelli called The Art of Thinking Clearly. It's very bite-sized, very easy to read. Keep it a bit side, but it has 100+ cognitive biases in there. How people make bad decisions. So you read them over and over, and then you remind yourself not to make those mistakes. Then your thought process becomes clearer over time. So I think it goes back to refining your thought process, and then once you have done that, then it becomes easier to learn, or to get knowledge on new domains. So to learn how to learn. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
And just a tribute to the guy who just passed away. Can't really see it.
No.
Clayton Christensen. So I keep it on my table, just to read whenever I have 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time today. We're running out of time, but really, really appreciate your thoughts and your perspective to life right now. Thank you so much. We're going to be in touch with you, and very, very appreciate you coming on the episode. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. Bye.
Bye.
We're very happy to see you are in that amazing background area there.
The space.
Yeah. Just
In the space.
cover up my messy room.